Next up, Edge AI. We've talked about this some during 2023, and we think it's going to be even more important looking into 2024. Premise here is that AI in the cloud is really powerful, right? Because of the scale that you can access through massive data centers. But the cost is a challenge, and privacy and security is obviously a challenge, right? So we know that inference costs are very expensive, which has held back a lot of organizations in terms of adopting generative AI. Every time you prompt, every time you get a response. We walked through that last month, and we talked about how those things sort of stack on top of each other when you have longer and longer conversations. Every time you want to get a response, you have to send the entire response back. That becomes very expensive when accessing through an API. You also have the challenge that you're sending information up to somebody's server in the public cloud, and that's obviously a huge problem for security. These challenges can be mitigated or even eliminated when thinking about operating AI at the edge. And that edge could be mobile, could be computers, and we have started looking at options where there's dedicated server boxes that can be within the enterprise firewall. But all of these applications are lagging in capability. So status today, we're seeing some interesting announcements out of Apple in terms of developer frameworks that access their A and M chips, which have been part of their platform for several years. Google's done the same, and both in terms of the chips in their Android-based phones, and Nano, which is their micro, if you will, or Nano, I guess, model. Microsoft too with Phi 2. All of these major platforms are looking at ways to put accelerated software and chips, or software and chips that can accelerate AI models at the edge. So we're really interested in what happens in terms of developer-focused announcements, especially at WWDC and Google I/O. Those are the major places that we're looking for in terms of this year. The image here shows one of the things we talked about in the last couple of months, as we've had this whole world in 2023 focused and centered around NVIDIA as the chip vendor. That power structure, that key hub in this complex network starts to change when you see Google and Apple having meaningful chip businesses and ecosystems centered around their mobile and desktop platforms. Microsoft would be the next one that would go to be that sort of large dark blue. It gets to be much more interesting and starts to reduce some of the singular focus on one particular chip vendor. So this is a really important theme that we'll be looking at quite a lot this year.